May mother-in-law love po po.
Have I told you about my grandfather's family? When I was born, I went to live at my grandfather's home because my mum and dad had nowhere else that they could go at the time. One of the reasons was my mum was looking after my granddad and one uncle that was still living at home. The other was married, so I didn't have to worry about that. But my mum hadn't got her mum from when she was 10, and that made things very hard. She'd got 2 little brothers younger than her, and she'd got 8 uncles next door. Now I don't know why, but maybe you'd like to think why all the aunts moved out as soon as they were old enough. I've got my suspicions, but there you go, that's a question that you can look at. Housing then was quite inexpensive as far as we're concerned, but it wasn't then. It would probably have been about 3 or 4 shillings for my mum and dad. But those homes that they were living in were built a long time before, and my great-grandparents moved into those houses when they were first built. It was lovely for them because it was a home that the factory they worked for provided, but there was a slight problem. If they couldn't work, they were out of the home. If they left and went somewhere else, they were out of the home. Another item in that was no light. The only thing they got at the time when those houses were first built was candles or oil lamps and nothing else. They got a fire grating so they were able to heat up water, but there was no hot water on tap. Today people have been really no hot water. All there was a cold tap, a fire with 2 hobs either side and an oven underneath the one hob, and that's where most of the cooking was done. They got no gas, no electricity and no hot water. When gas was put in, my grandparents and great-grandparents were able to move into one of those houses. Wow, that was good. Moving into one of those houses was something. It had got a light, and a light was something special. They got gas lamps. However, a gas lamp was like a muslin type fitting, and if you lit it with a match or a piece of paper and you pushed it too hard, you got a hole in it, so you had to buy another one. They were about a shilling each or something like that, which would be 5 pence now. That wouldn't be a lot to us, but to them a shilling was quite a lot of money, especially as pounds weren't very often mentioned in the men's wages. Some of them only had shillings up to the pound. There were 12 shillings in a pound. No, 20 shillings in a pound, 12 pennies in a shilling. But during the time that was going on, there wasn't a lot of money around, and there was a flu epidemic, and that's what killed my grandma and one of my uncles. He was only a little boy of 3. It wasn't easy, it was hard, and it was always hard for them. If you wanted to boil a kettle, you would put that on your fire or on the hob, and often you'd find a kettle one side and a teapot on the other side of the fire. Now the fire grate was black leaded, which was a type of polish that was put on to make it look nice, and it was polished up and shiny, and that had to be done regularly. And it wasn't easy work, it was hard work. It was rubbing with your hands, polishing away and making it look good, so that people wouldn't come in and say, well, you haven't done much today, have you? The kettle would be there, and the hob that was on the one side that had got the oven underneath was often used for cooking. Most of the meals would be put in that oven, because at the time there were no gas cookers, only what they got. The fire had lots of things that they could do with it. You could burn anything, and that's often what they did. People, even if they were stuck for coal and couldn't have any money to buy because they hadn't got enough left, would go and they'd chop up some of the furniture. People were that poor in some areas. My great-grandparents weren't too badly off. They would use the gas for light, but no cooking. But then eventually they had a cooker, which was a gas cooker, and that made a big difference to them. Now, washing machines, and then eventually they bought out washing machines that could be used with gas, and that was used for quite a while, well before the electricity came. I remember that the boiler in the kitchen that my mum had was where she did her washing, and it was in the corner. It was about 3 foot deep and 4 foot across. It got a big lid on the top, and when it wasn't being used, the lid was covered. But underneath it, there was a big space, and that was to put a fire to make sure that the water was hot enough to do the washing. And the washing was done on Mondays. Washing was done on Mondays, and Tuesday was ironing, and then it was all put away till the next week.